What if I told you that 7 Catholic traditions, centuries old, deeply sacred, and once thought untouchable, have just been banned? Would you believe it? It may sound unbelievable, even shocking, but it's true. Pope Leo XIV, the quiet reformer who many underestimated, has started a spiritual transformation like no other. He didn't shout, he didn't demand, but his actions are echoing through Vatican halls and parish churches around the world. In this video, we're going to uncover the 7 Catholic traditions that Pope Leo XIV has boldly changed or completely banned. And you won't believe number 7? So stay with us until the very end, because this isn't just about rules or rituals, it's about the heart of the Church, and how one man's vision is leading it back to its roots. Let's begin. For hundreds of years, the papacy has been symbolized by gold-threaded robes, embroidered stoles, ornate mitres, and dazzling rings. But the first visual change Pope Leo XIV made was choosing simplicity over splendor. He stepped into the Vatican not in shimmering robes, but in plain linen. His shoes were unpolished. His cross, simple and bare. To many, it was a stunning break from tradition, but to Leo, it wasn't rebellion. It was a return. He remembered being a young Augustinian in a small Czech village in 1981 when a little girl looked at him and said, "He looks like my uncle." That moment stayed with him forever. He believed that the Church had covered itself in gold while walking past the hungry. And in his eyes, true dignity wasn't worn, it was shown in service. His choice sent a message: the Church's beauty wasn't in robes, but in mercy. Critics said he stripped the dignity of the papacy. But Leo answered simply, "No garment is holier than the wounds of the poor." The next tradition to fall wasn't fabric, it was symbols. During a formal audience, Leo did something no one expected. He took off his papal skull cap and exchanged it with a handmade cap from a child. In the Grand Vatican halls, whispers spread quickly. Some saw disrespect, but Leo saw connection. Back in 1979, he had served in a soup kitchen in Chicago. A homeless man looked him in the eye and said, "I don't need your suit, I need someone to see me." Leo carried that moment into his papacy. For him, sacred symbols weren't meant to stay on altars, they were meant to be shared. He later gave his personal rosary to a child in the Amazon. He encouraged other clergy to do the same, not to abandon the sacred, but to keep it alive through touch, memory, and love. "A crown," he said, "is only holy if it bows." One of the boldest reforms Pope Leo made was subtle, but powerful. He changed the language of the liturgy. Not the core prayers, but the tone. Words like brothers became brothers and sisters, male-only references became inclusive. And it wasn't about politics. It was about belonging. In 1985, he celebrated Mass in a farming village in Peru. An old woman told him afterward, "Today I heard myself in the prayers." That moment shaped his understanding. He believed the gospel should never sound like a closed door. "God," he once said, "speaks all languages, including one of the forgotten." He formed committees to review liturgical texts and soften harsh, exclusive language. He wasn't erasing tradition, he was opening it wider. In a multilingual parish in 1988, even small changes made women feel heard for the first time. For Leo, it wasn't about being politically correct, it was about communion. Another major tradition Pope Leo XIV dismantled was the stiff ceremonial protocol of Vatican life. Gone were the rehearsed movements, the scripted reverence, the formality that separated the clergy from the people. In its place, Leo brought warmth. On just his 3rd day as Pope, he broke ritual in front of thousands by hugging an old friend. During Mass, for Leo, presence was sacred. He recalled walking barefoot to visit a sick child in 1987. The mother kissed his hand and whispered, "God walked to us." That was his theology: closeness, not distance. He told priests to break tradition if love demanded it. "There is no protocol holier than compassion," he said. Perhaps the heaviest and most painful tradition he ended was silence. Pope Leo XIV faced the deep wound of abuse in the Church with courage. He didn't hide behind statements. He showed up. He created a universal day of prayer for healing every 4th Sunday of Lent, a day of silence, candles and names remembered. In 2004, he visited a monastery where survivors of spiritual abuse had gathered. He said nothing. He simply wept. A victim later said, "We didn't need answers, we needed to be heard." He instructed dioceses to create spaces of healing and accountability. He trained priests not to defend the church but to care for the wounded. "We are not judges," he said. "We are nurses in a hospital." Leo didn't just make changes through silence and touch. He changed the very voice of the church. He revived Latin in major Vatican liturgies, but he also empowered dioceses to use their own languages. To him, Latin was unity, but local. Dialects were intimacy. In 1988, he said Mass in a rare Andean language. An old man told him afterward, "For the first time, I felt God understood me." Leo saw no contradiction. Tradition and accessibility, he said, can walk hand in hand if humility leads the way. He believed the gospel must speak the language of the heart, wherever that heart may live. Finally, and most structurally disruptive, was Leo's move to decentralize the church. He believed power should be shared. The church, he said, wasn't a tower in Rome, it was a living body. He gave dioceses more authority to adapt to their people's needs. He encouraged local leaders to act with love, not fear. In 1985, he saw a village holding masses without Vatican approval. "We just did what love required," an elder told him. Leo called that not disobedience, but discipleship. He created regional councils, empowered local bishops, and reminded the church that trust, not control, built the early church, and only trust could renew it. So there you have it. 7 traditions, once thought unchangeable, now touched by a pope unafraid to listen. He didn't erase the past. He opened the doors to a deeper future, from simple clothes to complex conversations, from changing prayers to facing pain. Pope Leo XIV is reminding the church that its greatest strength is not in holding power, but in giving it away. He didn't call for a revolution, he whispered an invitation. Return. Return. To love, return to the poor, return to the gospel. And in doing so, he gave the church not a new identity, but a reminder of its original one. Thank you for watching to the end. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think, if it made you feel, share it. Leave a comment below. What surprised you the most? And be sure to subscribe for more inspiring stories that show how faith continues to breathe in the modern world. Because like Pope Leo XIV said, do not be afraid. For in every breath of reform there is the pulse of God. But if you're still here, there's one more thing you need to hear. Something that wasn't in the headlines or the ceremonies. It's about the way Pope Leo XIV walks. Not just literally, but spiritually. People close to him have noticed something quiet, something sacred. He walks barefoot in private. Not as an act of poverty, but as a prayer. A reminder that the ground he walks on, the halls of the Vatican, the marble, the cobblestones of Rome, are not more sacred than the slums, the valleys, the dusty trails of the forgotten. He says it keeps him connected. It reminds him that he is different from the ones he serves. Bare feet, he once whispered, feel pain. They also feel the earth. And that is where God first walked, in dust. This is not just a pope with reforms. This is a man with a memory of touch, of pain, of humanity. And in that memory, he's slowly leading the church out of silence and into song again. So if you've ever felt far from faith, if you've ever wondered if change is possible, if you've ever hoped that holiness could be human again, then maybe, just maybe, this is your sign. Pope Leo XIV is not just changing traditions. He's reminding us why they mattered in the first place, not rehearsed, not dressed in gold, just real. Because for Pope Leo XIV, real faith doesn't echo in grand cathedrals. It whispers in hospital rooms. It sits quietly beside the lonely. It waits in the eyes of a stranger who just wants to be seen. He isn't asking the church to forget its past. He's asking it to remember its heart. And that's why, to many, he's more than a pope. He's a mirror, showing us not what religion has become, but what it can be. A faith that's barefoot, a leadership that listens, a tradition that bends, not to break, but to bless. less. Because for too long, too many have